All right, you guys. I'm just making sure I'm recording before I start doing anything because it's been a minute since I have had to do this. And using Top Hat, it's been a little challenging. All right. So I'm going to get started. First of all, welcome to Leadership in Health Science. I'm Dr. Dunavant, or most people call me Dr. D. Um, If you look at the My Professor page in Blackboard, you'll be able to read a little bit about me. Um, and I also want you to go ahead and do the introduce yourself discussion that's also in Blackboard so that I know a little bit about you. And I actually go back and read these just in case you email me because you have issues with an assignment or you have questions, I can kind of see where you are in terms of what you're doing in the future, what your major is, or anything like that. And going into the textbook, I have you start off with the introduction. There isn't a whole lot to go over, but the information is interesting, especially if you haven't ever had a leadership class before. I don't intend for you to have a great deal to quote unquote memorize or know from the introduction, and you're not quizzed over the introduction. But as you read through it, I want you to kind of get a feel for how the book discusses leadership and the different roles healthcare or health science plays in our social environment in terms of healthcare itself. And I also want you to reflect on what leadership is to you. I want you to be able to come up with a definition on your own so that you have an idea as to what it is. And I want you to realize that not everybody is going to have the same definition. What it is for one person, it will not be for another person. What you read in the book is very text. If you Google it, that's very textbook as well. So I really want you to find what leadership means to you. And that is one of your discussion questions posted in Top Hat as well. The main points to the intro discuss how being a leader in leadership involves a shift in mindset, and it requires a personal belief that a health professional can live a life guided by leadership principles and practices, and that these principles and practices are learned and then applied to everyday life, whether it is in the business sector or the healthcare sector or anywhere else that you find yourself. It's not just in healthcare. Leadership skills go across the board no matter what you do. And leaders are action oriented and they need to be adaptive and flexible to increase their effectiveness. Also, leaders can be either born leaders or learned leaders, and whichever one you think you may be, it doesn't hinder you in any way as far as being successful or a successful leader in life. Also, there are a few tables of information in the intro that you may want to familiarize yourself with. You might want to mark it, or um, I would say, I don't know if you have a digital book or not. If you do, you could probably copy and paste it. I don't know. I can't copy and paste from my digital book, but you might be able to. I'm not sure. But somehow mark those tables so that whenever we reference back to it, you can go, okay, there it is, instead of having to dig around and try to find it in your book. It's just a suggestion. I just want to make sure that this semester is painless as possible for you all. Moving on to chapter 41. Let's move on to chapter 1. There are several different types of leadership styles, but there is a difference between a manager and a leader. For some, being a manager can be a simple task, and for others, it can be fairly difficult. And this is due to the fact that some people cannot separate themselves from the crowd. Sometimes our relationships with individuals with whom we work get in the way of doing what is fair and right, by the rules laid out by upper management or administration. But sometimes it can change a great deal if you are promoted within a company and those relationships you once had as a subordinate can become strained because of the amount of quote unquote power you're given. Um, and I don't know why that happens. I don't know if it's because of jealousy or um, just how subordinate employees function. Because there's always something to complain about, and it seems to happen at that level. Usually, if you move up into management, you don't see um, that kind of behavior anymore. But as far as the main differences between leaders and managers, managers are strictly bound by the corporation's vision and mission, and that's what they have to hold up to. They can't think outside of the box. They have to kind of stay within their little box of being a manager. These are the rules, we have to follow them, so on and so forth. But leaders, on the other hand, are trying to move the organization into the future, with the vision and mission sort of on the back of their mind, in the background. They might even think of rules. They might come across a project where they might have to look and review and try to decide if a rule is really worth it to follow. Because in order to make change, you kind of have to break the rules or reevaluate what the vision and mission state, which is not a bad thing. You don't want a vision or mission that's 500 years old, because things that are relevant for today were not then. Um, so leaders are always looking to the future with all of these things in the back of their mind, but they're also trying to move a corporation or organization into the future. Um, and with all of that being said, there are different organizational models, and there are two that I want to really talk about right now. The first one is the matrix model. This is a very basic model. It looks like a diamond if you draw it out on a piece of paper, where executives are at the top, project managers, like executive project managers, or project managers, functional managers, and then functional personnel on the bottom. Um, and any of these people can be a part of a project. You don't have to be in management to be part of a project. You can be a functional personnel and be um, put on a project and be a team leader of some sort. This type of organization is seen as one that is easily expandable because it can grow horizontally and vertically. As you add managers, you're going to add functional personnel, and also, if you have to add managers, you're going to have to go up and add different levels of management all the way up to the executive level. And this allows for growth. And if you ever work in a place where you have too vertical or too horizontal of a structure for management, it's not going to work because you have one person that's kind of making the decisions, and you don't really need that. You need a checks and balances, kind of like how we do in our government. The other organizational model is the starfish model. The starfish model is by far my favorite, and it's probably the one that makes the most sense to me, because I've worked on projects and I've been in leadership roles and management roles. And the idea is that you have arms like a starfish. So if you have your central or your core management or leadership team, and then you have all these different branches. Say you have accounting and you have digital and you have social and you have another part or like design. Um, if any one part goes wrong, you can either lose somebody or get rid of a portion, or say accounting is affected. You can go into the accounting, onto the accounting arm and make changes, and none of it's going to affect anybody else. So it keeps the project moving forward rather than halting it or hindering it from progressing. And this basically comes from the idea that starfish, if you don't know, if you have a starfish and you cut off one of its arms, it grows back. And so that's the idea behind the leadership model for that. So, as you can imagine, managers and leaders serve very important roles in public health and the health of our society. Managers and leaders can be one and the same, but in order to be both an effective manager and leader, you have to have certain skill sets to draw from. And throughout the semester, we will go over those skill sets. So for the intro in chapter one, there isn't a whole lot. It's just basic information. You do not have a quiz over the intro. There are slides that are assigned to you, and there are questions embedded in those slides. I'm really just wanting to check to make sure you're understanding where we're going, kind of with all of this, and get a feel for the mindset that you kind of need to be in whenever you're doing your work. Um, so for every chapter, every week, we will have, you'll have a lecture, a quiz. I try to have my lectures done by Tuesday, to give you enough time to work on your assignments. So, um, for every chapter, you have a quiz, you have the slides where you will have the questions embedded. It's only, I think, even one set has one question embedded, so it's not like it's a big deal. It's just checking to make sure you're reading and understanding. The quizzes are the same way. All of your quizzes are open note, open book, however you want to do it, because I'm not going to go through the hassle of checking to see if you're cheating or not. The book is mainly just to understand concepts and to read about scenarios that have happened. Um, and the quizzes are pretty much word for word. And I think the longest quiz has about 15 questions. And if it's taking you an hour to 2 hours to do 15 questions or less, like your first one, I think it's 10 questions, maybe. Um, then you're not doing it right. Just go ahead and take the 20 minutes to read the 10 pages and um, be done with it. Don't fret over it. However, I will say that there are, it's the quizzes are just a mix of multiple choice, true, false, and short answer. Usually the short answer is where people get hung up because they think they can Google the questions. You're going to get something off the wall. I've tried it. I think the questions are fill in the blank or too vague for Google to figure out what you're trying to do. I don't know if anybody's tried using AI or not to answer the questions, but I would think you'd run into the same thing. The information is just really vague, and so it comes straight from the book. So you're just better off reading and answering the questions. Let me think. So you have the slides, the quizzes. You'll have a discussion question for every chapter. I did not put one for the intro, but there is one for chapter one. These do not have to have references or anything. They don't have to be long and formal. It's a discussion. It's like if you were sitting in front of somebody and you were asking these questions, or if someone was asking you this question in person, what is it for you? I just want to know your opinion. This is more of an experiential sort of class. I'm not looking for you to memorize a whole bunch of book facts. The quizzes and stuff are just merely to check to see if you're reading and how well you're grasping the concepts. Um, so I don't want you to focus on having to do a lot of research or anything on anything. This is opinion based. Um, and if I feel like that there is something wrong, I'll jump in and say something. But for the most part, you guys will make your posts and y'all won't hear anything from me. You'll just get a grade. Um, for the portfolio project, I'm not sure how Top Hat's going to do. Because in Blackboard, you could create a portfolio and you would put your documents and all your work in it. And it kept it all separated and sort of nice. But with Top Hat, I'm not sure how that's going to work. So we'll just kind of have to figure that out on our own. And if I email you and I'm like, hey, can you take a look at this? It's just because I'm wanting to see how it looks for you and how Top Hat works on the student side and not my side, just my side. So, um, we'll figure that out, figure out how to do a portfolio. But your portfolio project is a culmination of 10 assignments that you will be given throughout the semester. Um, and hopefully they're reflective assignments, or sort of interesting, not just writing a whole bunch of papers. You will have to do, um, some flyers or pamphlets, and that's mainly because if there's a project to incorporate into an organization, it's just a snapshot to see um, how it would work. Like something like you've all seen it. You go to the doctor and there's like pamphlets and flyers and stuff all over the place and talking about how you can access this, just scan this QR code and it's cool. So it's just a snapshot of um, something that you would put into place. There is an accounting assignment. This is the one that most people are not so comfortable with, but um, again, I'm not looking for you to be like a CPA working through an accounting assignment. I give you questions to answer, and you complete the assignment using Google Sheets or Excel, whatever. If you have any issues uploading anything, go ahead and email it to me because um, I don't want you to stress over, oh my goodness, I've done this work, but it's taking me 3 days to just upload it. Just email it to me. Don't stress yourself out because that is not something I want to do for anybody or put anybody through. Just as long as your stuff is turned in on time and it's done efficiently, you should be okay. Um, so I think that's all the assignments. Let me see. Um, Slides with questions, the quizzes, the discussions, and your portfolio assignment. I believe that's it. I think I have in the syllabus that you have a midterm and a final. We'll see. Last semester I did not. We'll just see. Um, Things can change, but I always do things in favor of the student. So you don't have to worry about that either. I had several people last semester who were emailing me worried about their grade, and I'm like, don't worry about it because, yeah, the point values are there. However, if your work is exceptional, eh, I have a few magic points up my sleeve. So, um, just as long as you stay on top of everything, you should be fine. And everything is due by Sunday. I used to try and do multiple day submissions, but that's a little bit crazy. So everything's due on Sunday. Um, if you have any questions about any assignment, just email me. Um, and um, I guess we'll get the semester started. Your first paper is, I have on there, it's a 3-page paper. If it's less than 3 pages, that's fine. Oh, about that. Um, I want you to think about a topic that you would want to cover that's classified as an in need of change topic, something like financial situations or organizations, organizational situations, or how well the functionality of a hospital or a clinic or something can be enhanced. Um, Come up with a topic and try to stay with that topic and do your papers and assignments based on that. If you run into a roadblock, I'm here to help you. I know where you can find information if you can't. So I hope this is a great semester, and I will see you all later.